In this video, we're going to learn how to add a title block to Revit as a new sheet. We're going to learn how to scale and crop our views. We're also going to learn how to print to the right size when we print to a PDF. So we've downloaded a custom title block, and under Sheets, we right-clicked, we did New Sheet, and we went to Load. When we click on Load, we're able to find wherever we have our custom title block saved. So mine's on my desktop right now. So I loaded that in, I have it highlighted, and I hit OK to create a new sheet. The new sheet I created came in as A101 plans. I filled out the information that I needed, paying attention to the information in the title block here, which we can populate two different ways, either by clicking inside of our title block or by filling it out on the properties palette. Once we have that, we notice that if we try and drag in our level 1 floor plan, that it comes in rather large, okay, for the size B sheet of paper. The view is way too large, and if you drag in all your views this way, it's going to become very cumbersome, and we have a lot more editing to do, like changing the size of our label below our view. So what I'm going to do is delete that out and make this much more manageable. I'm going to do that by going into my floor plans, level 1. I'm going to pay attention to 3 different things. I'm going to pay attention to my scale. I'm going to pay attention to my crop region, if it's active or not, and also if it's visible or not. The flashlight turns on yellow if we can see it. The red X goes away if our cropping is active. And then once again, we can see our scale. So I first want to zoom out a little bit and turn on my visibility for my crop region. Now I can see it. Right now it's deactive. We can see the red X there. I click on the region, take on the grip edit, and pull in. I can actually crop my view down as close as I can to my building. Since I'm in level 1 floor plan, I want to actually only see the floor plan of my building, and this is a small greenhouse that we're looking at with curtain walls. So I want to crop that in, and as tight as I can go, the better, without actually causing any trouble with my walls here. So I'm going to just pinch that in, and now you can see that my crop box is much smaller. And if I want to actually see the effect of the cropping box, I just uncheck that red X, and then now I can actually see only what I've cropped. If I don't want to see the crop box anymore, I'm just going to unhighlight that with the flashlight, and then we can keep that in 1/8 inch scale. Over on my sheets, I'm going to drag that in. It's going to come in at an 1/8 inch scale now, and my label is already at an appropriate size as well for the view. If I want to actually edit the size of that, and I want to bring it in at a 1/4 scale, I can double click in, and I can now edit the view as if I was working in my level 1 floor plan. Double clicking in activates the view, and it grays out everything else. I can now click on the scale. I can go to 1/4 inch scale. Notice it makes my drawing a lot bigger, but the label is still the same size that it was before. That could be an issue, or it could not be. If I would have changed the scale before I dragged it in, the label would have been a little bit bigger in size. A lot of people have questions about how to actually change the label. So let's say I want to make this bigger. If I actually hover over the view and click on the edge of the crop box, I can now change the length of my label. It gives me a grip edit for it. If I click off of that and only click on the label, I can only move the label then. And then if I click on the crop box and drag, it drags everything together as one. So think, if you want to change the length of the label, i.e. crop the label, you can click on the crop box, and then now you can adjust the label's size. That's in 1/4 inch. Now that's in. Same thing with level 2. So I'm going to go to level 2. There's nothing really here that I want to see, so I'm actually going to go to my site plan. On my site plan, I'm going to then show my crop box. We can see it now. I'm going to actually take that. I'm going to clean it up a little bit. I'm going to bring that in. I don't feel like I need to show my full site plan here, so I'm just going to bring that in. And the scale, 1 to 20, we're going to see how that looks on our actual title block. So I'm going to go back to our title block. I'm going to drag in the site plan. And a 1 to 20 looks fairly appropriate, but it might be a little big, so I might end up changing that later. So I have my site plan in. I see that there's a couple icons here that actually show like there's some different properties that we can show in our site plan by clicking on these. I'm going to double click in. I'm actually going to highlight those, and I'm going to right click. I'm going to hide those in the view. I'm going to hide them by elements, and now those have gone away. I can double click out to get back to my paper space, or when I double click in, everything grays out. I can right click and say deactivate view. I can do the same thing to activate a view. So if I want to edit this floor plan again, I can right click and click on activate view, and then now I can edit this again as if I was inside the level 1 in my project browser. Then right click deactivate to get out. Those are in. Now I'm just going to throw in a couple elevations, so I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go to my east elevation. I can now zoom out a little bit, show my crop box with the flashlight, go in, tighten that up a little bit, bring those over. Notice that my levels adjust with my crop box so I can still see those. If I want to see them in the elevation, click off. Our crop is active. If it wasn't, then we would see some extra information, and then we can hide the actual view. I'm going to do the same thing with a north elevation. Zoom out a little bit. I'm going to actually show the crop box, click on the crop box, take the grip edit, bring it up, bring it down a little bit, bring it in, and bring it in. Click off and hide. The scale, we'll see how that looks when we bring it in. We might have to adjust that, so we're going to go over to our sheets. We did the east and north, so I'm going to bring in the east and put that in. It's a little large for the sheet. I'm going to actually scale that down, so I'm going to take that view and delete it. I think it's easier to adjust it inside the elevation itself. That way it comes in already cropped and adjusted. So I'm just going to go into that elevation. And we were at an 1/8 inch scale, so now I'm going to go to a 1/16. And it'll look the same on your screen, but when you drag it into the paper, that's when you actually see the change in size. So I'm going to go to a 1/16 as well over here. And notice that I have to change this crop box. We'll go back to our sheets, and we'll drag in our new views. I also think I'm going to bring in the site plan a little bit smaller too to save some room. So over here, we'll drag in our east elevation. And we'll drag in our north elevation. And I'm not really a fan that this one's wider, so I could crop that up a little bit more. So I could double click in, I have my crop box. I can bring that in inside the sheet itself. That'll help me align it proportionately with how it currently is. Double click out, and then we can click and drag that into place a little bit better. Also, since we clicked on the crop box, we can actually move the grip edits for our label a little bit in, and click on that. Zoom in so I can grab that a little bit easier. Bring that in as well. I'm going to shorten that up one more time, just like so. Then I need to highlight both of these. I'm going to move them over. And in this view, I want to hide the crop box as well. Okay? And there's one last thing. I'm going to bring those in a little bit more. Bring those in too. So there's two elevations. Here's my floor plan. The site plan I'm going to bring in as well. I'm going to actually just stack these. So I'm going to actually take this and bring it back to an 1/8 inch. Shorten that up. Click on the box. Shorten this up. I'm going to move this. Stack it up here. Then we have my site plan in lower, and then that'll help with my spacing. So now I'm going to bring my site plan in right here. The site plan, I'm going to double click on that. I wanted to make it smaller, so instead of 1 foot equals 20, we're going to go down and do a 1 to 30. So now on our sheets, take the site plan, drag that in. We have a 1 to 30 coming in right here. And however we want to arrange this for spacing is kind of up to you. Now that we have all that in and in place, we have to learn how to take this and put it into a PDF. So on my website, I actually have some information on that. So if you actually go to our lesson for today, you can find that. I'm going to save it, and then I'm going to go to a file print, and we're going to choose a PDF printer, okay, as our PDF maker. So we're going to go to print, and then under their settings, we're going to go to Adobe PDF. We're going to then go to setup. In this setup, what I want to do is take my paper size and change it to what I'm anticipating. So an architectural B size piece of paper would be okay. This title block I specifically made 11 by 17 to be printed. Architectural size would be 12 by 18. Orientation is going to be landscape, like how we currently have it set up. If you have trouble, like let's say you have some shaded effects, sometimes raster processing works better. If you don't have any shaded, like realistic element shading, sometimes vector works better. Placement is going to be center. We're going to do a zoom of 100%, which means we're basically not scaling it. So everything's going to stay true to size and true to scale. So if we were actually print it out and measure it, we could actually use a ruler or a scale to tell what our scale is and our sizes. And once we have all that set, raster quality high, we're going to say OK. And then basically it's going to ask you kind of when you say OK again, where you want to save this PDF to. So I'm going to say OK. I'm going to save mine to my desktop for this example. Say save. And then we're going to see that this is going to come in clean, actual size, without having like a double border here. So we're going to see that PDF pop up in a second. And here's the PDF that was made. Notice that our border for our title block is nice and neat and tucked in. If you don't do all those steps, you might find yourself getting a double border, which is like a page border, and it actually changes a lot of things, which isn't good. So this is how you would do it. And now this is officially a 11 by 17 PDF that will then print pretty well. So if we do go to print this then from the PDF, you can click on the print icon. And if we change that to a printer that can do 11 by 17 paper, like our printer here, SAPPP 609, what we need to make sure that we do is we don't do any page scaling. So it has to say none. And then you have to check choose paper source by PDF page size. So if I have that checked as well, so we have page scaling none and choose paper source by PDF page size, you'll see that it's going to print with 11 by 17 paper. If that's unchecked, it's going to try and use 8.5 by 11 size A. So then we would just say OK, and then this will print out for us. Oh yeah, don't forget to save.